Hey guys, what's up? We are now live. So thanks to everyone who's watching here, or if you're watching the video on demand on YouTube. Most of you guys know Jess and I, but we've got two new faces here. We've got Old Rosie and AShinyRay. So we're going to go ahead and let's introduce the guests first of all. So Rosie, we'll start with you. Why don't you tell us how long have you been playing Gears? When you're playing now, what do you play and how often do you play? And then where do you interact with people online?
Sure. Yeah, thank you very much. I played since Gears 1, so I met a lot of friends online playing since then. I kind of kept in ever since then. You can pretty much find me on Reddit. I do occasionally check the forums, but I don't post there, so Reddit would be the main one if you ever want to drop me a message or anything. When I play Gears now, for various reasons, 2v2s is probably where you'll bump into me most often. I'm sure we'll come on to it, but Gridiron is probably my other favourite mode. So it would be those are the two places where you'd find me playing.
Yeah. And then ShinyRay, what about you?
So I've started Gears in 2010. I started on Gears 2, believe it or not. It's probably not the best place to start considering how controversial the multiplayer was. And in terms of what I play now, I play a mix of versus and PvE. I play all of it, to be honest, but with versus, I've been sticking to social because, I've taken a break from ranked because that was one of the big problems I had with the game. And since I've just been playing casually and social, it's been a lot better. And in terms of my socials, I'm most active on Reddit and Twitter. My Twitter's obviously on the tweet that you just put out. And I've just recently started a YouTube channel, and that's ShinyRay, where I do a sort of, let's say, critique videos. They can be a bit heavy-handed, but that's my sort of deal. I started the channel because I was pretty upset with the way Gears is being handled. So yeah, that's me.
All right, cool. Well, welcome and thanks for joining, guys. So I'm trying something new that this week is sort of like me testing it out. And a lot of people seem to like these streams that we're doing where we normally have a topic. Like in the past we had a PvE topic, a community topic, and things like that. And I want to keep doing those. But Tac-Com started as something where it was people who didn't really have a voice in the community can go somewhere and get on this stream and just talk about, in a constructive way, talk about topics that they're interested in. I really want to get back to the roots of doing that. So the way I found you guys, and there's a bunch of other people that I have on a list now, is I put out some posts asking who's interested in being on these streams. And I have, it's like 30 people long right now, a list of people who are interested in this. And in the future, I'm going to start trying to get a panel of people on, and you guys can come with your own topics, and this is just a place for you guys to speak your opinions and get into some, hopefully, fun discussion for people to watch. So, anyways, with that out of the way, let's hop into this week's topics, which are, we're going to start by talking about coming up on the 1-year anniversary of Gears 5. So, start by talking about this past year. How has this past year been for you? Jess, you haven't spoken much yet, so we'll start with you. Put you on the spot.
This past year, it's been a roller coaster. It's in the good place, a better place right now. I was very angry at the start, so I can't really pinpoint exactly what it was. Multiplayer. I'm trying to think of our arguments that we had online, Chaps.
Yeah.
You didn't even play Op2.
Yeah, I took Op2 off because I was pretty sick of the game.
The characters, the hero classes, everything that came out at launch just was not in my favor.
You say it's better now, and I think that started.
Op4 was a good start. I think it started to get better in Op3, maybe towards the end there. I don't know, the last few dev streams I've seen, like with Michael and Jonathan talking, it's just gives me a little hope.
Yeah. All right, ShinyRay, what about you? What are your just general thoughts on this past year?
It was a really bad start. I'm not going to beat around the bush. I was really, really upset with the state Gears 5 launched in. It's mainly from the campaign for me. I played it through when it first came out. I really enjoyed it, and I still enjoy it to this day. But as soon as I sort of like completed that, went onto multiplayer, I was like, oh, sort of what have they done? And this isn't like it's more so like the content, how little characters there were, how few maps there were. And I went into Gears 5 really positive. I took a massive breakthrough in Gears 4. I like the game. I still love the game. But I got so hyped in Gears 5. I sort of bought into the hype way too much, and it was just a massive letdown for me. But I think each operation that came out improved the game. But I'm still at the point now where, Op4 is where the game should have launched. So you've seen in sort of the change of leadership that it's up from here, and I'm quite optimistic for the next year ahead, to be honest.
Yeah, so you say Op4 is where you think it should have launched. Obviously, there's still room for improvement, but do you think the game is in a good state right now?
In terms of content, I'd like there to be a few more maps, and I'm still upset that we haven't got Oscar, who's in the campaign. But for the most part, I'm quite pleased with the tuning and how they're sort of tweaking it a little bit by bit. I'm quite happy with the latest one, and as a game, if that shipped today, I'd be like, yeah, I'd be pretty satisfied with that. But when you contextualize it and say this is the game a year in, you're thinking, wow, like something must have really gone wrong.
I just want to. He mentioned Gears 4. I just want to I feel like we all as fans struggled through Gears 4 for that to get into a good place, and then they finally started getting it into a good place. And they threw us Gears 5, which was completely different entirely. I just don't understand why. As a fan, that is frustrating.
Yeah.
If I could jump in, I think it's absolutely correct there. I think before Gears 4 got good, it lost me. I came back in towards the end, I was doing my, the ROM challenges and things like that. And then it's like, it feels like a much better game. But, I always worry, when Gears 4 launched, how many people it kind of we'll give it a go, and they lost and they didn't come back when I did for, let's say, the ROM challenges. And I wonder if that happened again with Gears 5. We're saying now, a year in, it's a much better game. And no game's perfect, and we're never going to get there, don't get me wrong. And obviously, we look back and think Gears 3 was the best thing since sliced bread. But it wasn't. It never starts that way. And I think, really, if we'd launched Gears 5 as it is today, we'd still want more, because that's just natural, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it does feel better.
I think a big thing, though, is all right, yeah, we definitely could have used more content at launch. The content level, number of characters and map, pretty low. But you mentioned Gears 3, and I think a really big thing that Gears 3 had going for it, which was a huge miss for the Coalition with Gears 5, is the polish. Obviously, Gears 3 got delayed, so it came out a little later, and they had a lot to polish it. But just the sheer number of bugs and inconsistencies, and I don't enjoy the UI in the game, and it's things like that it really doesn't help the game at all.
Could
I
just build on that point there? You make a really, really good point in that regard. Just something that I've noticed with a lot of sort of Microsoft games, I don't want to throw them under the bus, but you look at the rumors surrounding Halo Infinite at the moment, that's meant to be in turmoil. I don't know how true that is. You look how sort of Sea of Thieves launched, how that obviously had a lot of issues and they just flung out the door. And then Gears comes around and it's sort of the same thing. And it's like, are Microsoft really giving, are they just saying to their studios, you're going to make a game, it's a live service, it's going to have microtransactions. I don't care what the hell you do, I just need these things done and we'll release it, And that's not a patch on games like Sea of Thieves or Halo. I'm sure that Halo is going to be really good. I'm glad they've delayed it in long term, and Sea of Thieves is in a really good spot. But the thing, what's going to happen with those games? What's happened with those games is that they were okay when they launched, but when you look in hindsight, you're like, what did they do? Considering how much they've all improved.
Yeah, and I think it was
franchises though, just by launching like that.
Mm-hmm.
It was a huge miss for Gears 5. It hit some really great numbers. The most downloaded game for a little while. It brought in a ton of new people, and it had a really great opportunity. But having the number of bugs they had at launch and all of the server issues, it was a really big turnoff for a lot of fresh faces that are probably not going to be giving Gears a shot. And it didn't just hurt Gears 5, but it's going to hurt them in the...
I think you're absolutely right, but especially when we had a new operation and people are like, oh, it's just a new game. Every game has bugs when it launches. I don't necessarily subscribe to that. I wish they didn't. But then when Op2 launched and we had the same thing, you couldn't connect to games, it went down. And then to a lesser degree, Op3. And I think these are things that they're kind of planning. They're making the game to come out of these points. But still, everyone's like, oh, we'll give it a second chance. And they bump into the same problems. Like, us, like, we're playing the game every day, every other day, or whatever. We're experiencing the game, but people who give it a chance and then are constantly burned the points that they try, that's how they feel. That's the experience they're getting. And we can sit here and talk all day about how much better it is now, but if there's no reason to turn it on and play, they're not going to do it.
Everything kind of like costs money, obviously, and for them to have this Game Pass, like have it up on Game Pass at launch in this state, did like double the damage to it, because now they don't have the money to make the fixes because they rushed it out, and like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's a case of like cause and effect. Is it the fans that aren't putting enough money in Gears to make Microsoft put money into it, or is it the fact that Microsoft is not putting enough money into Gears for fans to return the favor? It's this sort of cause and effect thing that unfortunately seems like a vicious cycle. Like, Gears is not a small franchise. Like, look how good Gears 1, 2, 3, even Judgment did in terms of sales numbers, and look at 5 when it launched on Game Pass, and it seems like everyone saw what the game was like and they had issues, and they're like, oh, dead franchise. You know how people put on Twitter or like Facebook, oh, the game's dead, I wish it ended at 3. Like, it doesn't have to be like that. And it's the same with all these franchises. It gets to an age where people just like, I wish it would have ended at 3 and stuff. And it doesn't have to be like that. You can have a franchise continue without it seem to the fans like, oh, you're just milking it for money,
Right. So moving on from the launch, we've had, I guess it's 3 post-launch operations now. We're Operation 4. And one thing Rosie was kind of hinting at, that whenever these come out, they bring new stuff, but then we keep getting bugs with it, and there's a bunch of stuff that's not patched, and we just keep getting dragged on, and there's a lot of bugs that have existed since launch that aren't patched and seem like pretty serious issues, and then there's new bugs that come along. But let's focus on some of the good stuff. Like Operation 2, we got Free For All, which it's not that popular right now, which is weird, but like, fans really wanted it. I really want it.
I love it.
I really like Free For All. Yeah, I think that was a good addition to the game.
Yeah, I won't go on a rant here, but I wish I could play it with my friends in Quick Match. I think that's the main thing holding me back from it right now.
I think controversially for me, like, I thought Free For All launched too early. Like, and now it kind of like, 2020 vision, we can see that it wasn't quite ready to launch. It felt like it came out too quickly.
Why do you say that?
Well, I mean, obviously we didn't have ranked, and they kind of like bit off more they can chew. Like, it was supposed to be there straight away, and it wasn't ready. And I just felt, and you and I spoke about this on the forum, on Reddit rather, in that a free-for-all, if you can get into that and play a game with all your friends, it's just what you're lamenting about now, great. But I was always the kind of, like, if we're going to have free-for-all Wingman was always that kind of thing that you could bring in and, have someone to go, do you want to jump online and play that? Whereas free-for-all is kind of like an insular thing. Sure, you can go on and play ranked, to play with 10, 12, whatever. But really, it's just solo playing on your own, and that's not what Gears was. Like, when I played Gears 1, I remember there was no party, and that's a big thing now. Like, you would get in, it was only game chat, and then you'd have that bit where you talk to your team, and then you get back to the match lobby, and you don't have that bit of like back and forth, and it cuts off. And that's how people made their friends on Gears. Like, it was that openness. When Free For All came out, I just feel like it could have separated, and then it wasn't as good as it could have been, which is kind of the story of what we're talking about. But I'm so glad it is in Gears 5. I just wish maybe they just delayed it and done it like Op4, maybe even Op5. Like, it would have been a great pull. But they kind of like wasted the powder.
Yeah. Let's see. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about around Operation 2?
I think Operation 2. Oh, it's Free For All, isn't it? I saw the initial trailer, and they revealed the tour of duty, the characters, etc. And on Reddit, I was like, keep your expectations low, like, so you don't get disappointed. And people have this thing where if something looks good on paper, they become very defensive about it. And I got like quite badly downvoted. I know karma doesn't really matter, what have you. And then what, 6 weeks into the operation, everyone's complaining again. I just felt like, I did try to warn you. Yeah, I told you so. But it sort of rubbed me the wrong way how like they're touting as like Lizzie and Baird being major characters. And yeah, it's fun that they can be in Horde, but I was always thinking like, oh, they should have been at launch. You can tell they've just sort of sliced this out and saved it to hype up their operations.
I think even if they didn't slice it out, it still felt that way.
Yeah, like they say they didn't, but it really does feel like it's stuff that it should have been there at launch.
I mean, you have the operations. You've got Baird, Cole, and Dom, and like the classic, the Delta Squad. You would have expected those to be in Gears, but they feel like they held that to bring back gamers every 4 months or so.
Yeah.
I mean, they had the Onyx Guard in the achievement for Horde reaching level 15.
The achievement
art get him
had Onyx
until
Guard.
when?
I was believe it or not, I was actually writing a script about this sort of drip feeding. I've already done an episode on it, but I was going to do a follow up, and I was looking through some old trailers, and you actually see the Onyx Guard in the test tech trailer. So you're like, okay, it's the skin, it's in gameplay. You must have rigged it and tested it enough to put it in a trailer. So obviously you're withholding stuff from us,
Well, unless they didn't have the class in a place that they.
I think I was going to get defense like that. Skins aren't really. I know, don't get me wrong, aren't really a problem. But I think they did kind of hamstring themselves by trying to give everything PvE classes, which I'm a fan of. Don't get me wrong, but I understand that really slowed down the release of characters that people wanted as well.
Yeah,
it's rad. Let's add arcade onto that too.
Of course, yeah.
I mean, that was a pain.
Well, and that's pretty much been thrown to the dogs now because everyone shares classes.
Like all the way at the end in the casual play.
Yeah,
I enjoy arcade. Like,
I use it for my challenges.
Okay, yes, I enjoy Arcade Blitz. I just think it's a fun way to play. But let's move. So Operation 3. This was first operation of. Was that the first operation of 2020?
Yeah.
I don't remember when.
It was
September, so 3 months would have been Op 2.
30th of March, wasn't it?
But so Gridiron was introduced, which I absolutely love. I love Gridiron, and I wish it was the new esports mode. I'd be curious to hear why it isn't. But the other thing that was changed was the way totems worked. Again, that was based on fan feedback. The Tour of Duty has slowly been being improved. It's becoming more user friendly, and I think Operation 3 was really the spot where we started to see things turning around as, okay, it looks like things are improving now.
I thought the addition of Gridiron, it made me excited to play. I like playing it a lot. The Gridiron or the totem fix was good. It was still irritating that they didn't retroactively fix the others, but I kind of get why they didn't. But it was moving in a good direction.
I honestly didn't have an issue with the original totem system, except for the fact that it was locking your classes, which is a gameplay affecting thing behind it. Mm-hmm. If they kept the original totems, and just if classes and characters were separated, they had that totem system in order to unlock characters, do a bunch of challenges, and you unlock this character, and it's only an aesthetic thing. I think that would have been fine, but the fact that I had to work to unlock this new engineer class, I wasn't a huge fan of that personally. Or working for it isn't terrible, but working for that long to unlock it seemed kind of strange.
I think the XP requirement was possibly quite high for the average player as well, like 60k experience. When we went to play Lizzie in Escape, for example, and you just it's 60k, it's a lot. You ended up people just grinding Escape to get the experience, and that's working at the game to play the game, and it's obviously back to front that way.
Yeah,
it took me almost the entire Operation 2 to unlock Baird because I played no one else, none of my friends were playing, so I played on Saturday mornings. So once or twice a week, I worked hard to get Baird, and I got him before the end of the operation. Terrible.
For me, I didn't really touch Horde until halfway through Op 3. So as a versus player, the 60,000 XP was a lot, and I absolutely refused to buy boost to make it go faster. So I just toughed it out. It was awful, honestly.
Yeah, I think when they halved it, it felt more accessible and
Mhm.
still like kind of like a challenge. But everything that Chap said before about it, like kind of a gameplay effect being locked out of, fine. If I want to play the game any way I want to unlock the character I like, fine. I don't like the fact you've held Baird, since the start. But if I want, Gilded Baird, fine. I'll just kind of work around in the background. It's not necessarily an affecting thing. And I think that's probably what wound a lot of players up.
Yeah. So if we look back at these operations, we had Operation 2, which people were really hyped for. They were expecting a bunch of stuff, and honestly, it added some stuff, but it was a pretty big letdown. Operation 3 comes around, and they start adding some stuff, and people are like, okay, yeah, we want more, but you guys are going the right way. Operation 4 came out recently, and I think that was the first sizable step forward that we had, where it was, all right, new ranking system, new store, maps. Yeah, sorry, it's just a couple remakes and the one new one, but Operation 5 is going to have some great ones. But they made some really big changes in Operation 4, and I hope they keep this trajectory up where things just keep improving for each operation.
I think personally, like the thing that I enjoyed or appreciate is that they're willing to make bold decisions, bold changes, knowing that people aren't necessarily happy. So the fact that they rolled out the beta tuning to every playlist was like, oh, actually, this is a sea change. Like everyone's like, oh wow, and yeah, of course, people are going to hate it. But the fact that they're willing to kind of throw out the old to start again, yeah, it doesn't feel great to be the guinea pig, but I'm still happy that they're listening in that sense.
Yeah. And the fact that they threw out the old ranking system and they came up with a new one, which was a ton of work. They brought free-for-all to traditional maps instead of tile-based ones, which was probably a bunch of work. And
I think with Op4 for me, I saw that initial teaser trailer where they revealed Dom, and like, wow, Dom, who would have thought, Dom's coming back? And when it was just Dom in there, I was like, hang on, I'm a little bit worried now. And when we're getting up to the sort of the streams, and then we were expecting a trailer, and there's no trailer over the weekend, and there's no trailer on the Monday, like, okay, what's happening now? And then that person leaks the sort of intro on Twitter. I watched it and I was like, okay, right, this looks pretty good actually. They brought out a load of characters. There's 3 maps, I know 2 of them were direct ports from Gears 4, a ranking system which I really didn't expect. And then the Gears store as well. That was something we knew about, but I didn't realize how much better it would be. And that sort of lifted my spirits a bit once I saw that. And I'm pretty pleased with Op4 as is. I still have a few gripes about it, but that's just me having a pessimistic view because that's what Gears 5 has done to me. But
been burned before.
Yeah, I've been burned before, and it's nice to be pleasantly surprised. That was my view on Op4 anyway.
The Gears store. I know, chaps. And you and Twitter were talking about the kind of the uplift from what we had to the credits we were given at the start of Op4, but actually, it feels better. I prefer it this way.
Oh, the store is so much better this way.
Absolutely. The Gears coins, the fact we can access things. I know a lot of people are saying about they want you to keep stuff that they learned in Op1, but yeah, I get that. But the fact that I can play what I want, earn coins, for doing all kinds of things. And now I've topped this, humble brag. I've finished this tour. So now every 12 stars I get 750 coins. So if a character comes out, I mean, we're expecting the next legendary skin to be 10k, but it's still achievable. Like everything's achievable now.
Yeah, this new store system was a huge step up. I think they may have gone a little overboard with their generosity on it. Like, I mean, I hate to say that. I know.
Not out loud, chaps.
I know. No, I hate to say that, but like,
Coins.
but we're getting so many coins right now, and it is a great system. I feel like they're missing out on a lot of iron sales, though. Like right now, there just isn't really a purpose to purchasing iron and to be making. So, if they are making enough money like this, then this is by far my favorite like microtransaction system in any game. But I find it hard to believe it's making a reasonable income for its current store.
Also, I just want to point out in that dev stream, what was it, Thursday? Again, that someone brought up the question, what's the point of iron? So when TC hears that can't be a good thing.
Yeah.
This is on the Reddit as well. There's a guy, and I forget his name, I'm really sorry, but he says it, and actually he's got a very good point. Like he kind of like fronted his support for the game in buying iron, and he was happy to buy the esports characters, and then they locked it out. And I understand completely why they've done that, But still, he does feel now restricted in the fact that he kind of like, oh, maybe, people might say you shouldn't have done that. But he was happy enough to support the game, thinking he'd be able to get this. But actually, all he can now buy is boost and, what can that get you? More stars, more quickly, more experience. But, it's not, when people say it, it's not good for TC to hear, really, is it?
Yeah.
I think you said it best yourself. I was watching one of your dev stream recaps, and I think this was before Op4 launched. You said that you sort of expected once they've made their money, they would change the store to something more user friendly. And I think you said it quite a while ago as well. And lo and behold, that seems to be the case. But if it's gone the other way, where they make absolutely no money, that could backfire on this, and they could change policy and say Op5 and reduce the coin rate or what have you. So I see there is a lot of stock in saying they've been very generous with this. It has me a little bit worried, but they could keep it the same and just increase the period of exclusivity for items. But
I think they need to do that. Like, I would be completely fine if they both reduce the coin earn rate and increase the time of exclusivity for items in the store. Like, I'm not one to really care that much about cosmetics, but I would say, like, even 2 months of exclusivity if you purchase with Iron is perfectly fine in my mind. Make Iron worth it.
So if I can ask a question, Jess, you said that you played on a Saturday and you grinded pretty much all Operation to get bed. Mm-hmm. Now, would you say that you're getting enough coins through natural play, too many, too few? Yeah, so if there's someone playing very sporadically, that probably needs to be tweaked a little bit, doesn't it?
She's playing a lot more frequently now, though.
Oh, okay.
Now,
sorry.
She wasn't playing much in Operation 2 because nobody was playing, but some of us are playing again now, so we can play more frequently. What do you guys thought? Someone mentioned keeping the Chrome Steel characters in the store permanently and not having them rotate in.
It only benefit them, honestly, dude. Just do it.
Yeah, I as much as I preach about how bad microtransactions are, if certain Chrome Steels came back, like, I don't think there's any ones that I'd actually want. I think it would be healthy for the game, because back when the game launched, you've got like Chrome Steel Kate, Fars, Lani. There was sort of this anti-microtransaction sentiment where a lot of people probably didn't buy those, and it would be a good way for them to sort of support esports by just bring them all back. FOMO will only make you so much money, because it gets to a point where people are like, okay, yeah, I'm not buying into that. But if you can buy it whenever you want, you might see an uptick in sales, especially after this long, if they've been out of the store for like over a year or what have you.
Yeah.
The assumption that we're not going to see, let's say Fars, the first one that came out, come back until they finished almost all the other characters in the Chrome Steel version seems insane in a way. Like, there could be like 3 years of waiting for somebody who loves playing as fast and you can never get that guy.
Yeah, I worked it out, and I think at the sporadic nature of how they release the Chrome Steel skins, and I worked out how many characters, we said like 4 every operation, it would take well over like 3 years for them to get all the Chrome Steels out and then bring them back again.
And I don't understand that at all. Just put them out there.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Just a quick one. It just seems really random how they bring it out. Like, when they've made these skins, it's very likely that they've made them all at the same time, so they're probably already done. That's fine. It's just weird when, do you remember I think it was Operation 3, Cantus was there for like 2 weeks and then he disappeared and he was back for another 2 weeks. And it's just really random how they've brought it out. Like, they need some consistency in terms of how they release these skins.
Yeah.
I'll support that. I think, if you thought it was coming like off the back of their tournaments, and it wasn't, is it coming out every 2 weeks, and then it wasn't, and no one really knew, like, oh, should I check now for the next Chrome Steel character? And if people don't know, they'll miss it. And like say, I'm desperate to buy Chrome Steel Coal, and I literally can't predict when it could happen.
Yeah.
I might miss it.
And then we got that leak of Chrome Steel Jamad as well, didn't we? And he didn't come out for ages. And we're like, TC, we know it's real, just release him. And they're like, yeah, we don't talk about future content.
Oh, yeah.
We know you have him.
So, speaking of future content, let's talk a little bit about it. this is sort of our 1 year anniversary of Gears 5 stream. Obviously, the 1 year anniversary isn't here quite yet, but we know that a little something is going to be coming. The characters that we just got were supposed to be part of that, and there's supposed to be something else. What do you guys think we're going to be seeing as part of this 1 year anniversary for Gears 5 celebration?
A multiplayer event, certainly, surely. What else can we do?
Maybe what would it be? What do you think we would see?
Yeah, I think it's a very hard question. Actually,
So speaking of events, does Gears 5 have any special events that are like a Gears 5 event? Or all the ones I can think of are ones that are from even all the way back to like Gears 2, a couple Gears 4 things. Like, do they have any special events that are unique to Gears 5?
I mean, if you're talking to PvP, I don't think so. But we had the Terminator event, which, unless that was a reskin of something I can't remember. But I think everyone enjoyed that, and now it's gone.
Special event, you can only use launch skins.
Yeah, or Op5 skins. Please buy them.
I wrote down like expectations versus reality, so I think we're just gonna get a 1 year anniversary weapon skin, and that's gonna be an Omen with like a 1 in it. Something as basic as that. A Mark banner blood spray is guaranteed. I'll bet my house on that.
We'll just get one weapon skin, and the rest will be able to be bought in the store.
Yeah, but iron only for the first 2 weeks.
Yeah.
There's definitely going to be
anniversary, everyone.
There's definitely going to be a banner, right? Like
100%.
Someone mentioned campaign DLC in the chat. There's been
They want to create hype. They released that stuff.
There's been the rumored or somewhat leaked Hivebuster campaign DLC thing.
We've all seen the footage, haven't we?
We know it's real.
We don't know what it is, though. We know it shows the Hivebusters in a cinematic sequence in something that we haven't seen before,
and not in the armor that we're used to.
Right.
Yeah. Spoilers. If anyone hasn't read the Hivebuster comic yet, spoilers. Just mute the stream. But from that comic, you don't see them in the Onyx Guard armor for Keegan or Lani's Bresh Brigade armor. They're all and this is it's based from the very start. They're all in the Hivebuster stuff. So if it is real and if it is coming out, I'm sure it's either set right before Gears 5 at the same time, or I might even hedge my bets in saying that it's set straight afterwards.
I think, as much as I think that would be an amazing anniversary thing, and it would be like a campaign DLC, whatever, that feels to me more like Xbox Series X launch.
Definitely, yeah.
And I don't recall the exact wording, but I think on the recent developer stream, Dana mentioned that there's more coming, but said it was nothing like he doesn't want to overhype it. It's nothing spectacular and amazing. So I don't think it's going to be that campaign DLC. Series X, though, it could be.
He definitely confirmed it was not characters or maps, so
right.
It's
are we on star?
Thank you for being here.
It's like
for sticking around, guys.
You're the 1% who are left, and I'm proud of you. No,
sorry.
It's probably more character skins or what have you. We get one every week. I can't see it being anything big. I definitely think that the campaign DLC will be a Series X sort of selling point, even though it will be on Xbox One and Xbox One X, what have you.
Maybe the event will be like birthday hat Marcus. We'll get a skin with a little birthday hat on.
Oh, we're definitely getting.
We're
definitely getting the free boost weekend or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
If they don't do that, then that's just hilarious.
What's the Cole event that you want, Chaps?
The Cole event?
Yeah.
Don't know. What, people shoulder charging at people?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That would be cool.
That would be cool with Gridiron.
Oh, yeah, Gridiron with everyone shoulder charging each other would be pretty cool.
It would be fun as well, in fairness, agreed.
I think I wrote down that my bet for that is going to be Execution 4v4 with the Gears 1 weapons again. I think that's what it's going to be. But I would love it to be arms race with the relic weapons from the campaign. I think that would be turning on its head, having the grenade launcher, retro lancer, and the talk that doesn't explode, I think that would be a laugh to play in versus.
It's surely not that hard to implement. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it's easy at all, but like people have been asking for these relic weapons or a relic weapon event since the start of the game.
Yeah, it's odd that we haven't seen them at all.
Like, I know they're very unbalanced, but it's a weekly event. No one cares about
event,
balance.
Yeah. So speaking of events and this whole like 1 year anniversary thing, the other big anniversary that's coming up in I think it's like 2 months from now, basically, is the 14-year anniversary of Gears 1. And the reason that that's kind of a big anniversary is, the opening scene of Gears 1, 14 years after E-Day.
Oh, yes.
They haven't put that together, chaps.
Do you think the Coalition's put this together yet? Like, I think I saw this on Reddit. It was someone posting about this, but it's basically 2 weeks from now. It's 14 years after E-Day. A throwback to a Gears 1 type event thing would be really cool.
You can have Ruby Scion, take it or leave it. That'll be them. That'll be it.
I think, I watched the lore stream more than a few weeks ago now, and Bonnie really did seem to know what was up. So I'd be surprised if they didn't know that was happening. Whether or not they know it's happening and then actually do something about it is probably where I think they might fall down.
Yeah, I think we'll really get a sense based on what I think they'll probably do something if enough people are talking about it. And whether it's like what she said, a 14 times XP event or 14 days of boost, like something small like that, then it's okay. Yeah, we weren't really planning on anything. Here you go. But I'm really hoping that they thought ahead on this one and we get something really.
It would be cool if it was that the Locust into Horde, like with classic weapons, like you said on Twitter, and there's a certain community member that would be very pleased to see the.
And we know we're not going to get Locust, but like if they're set up and ready to put in the Terminator style event where it uses the AI and the mechanics of the existing characters, but just puts a Locust skin on them, then even that would be.
Sound like they were reluctant to do that because it
as an event though.
Polished. Yeah, agreed. But they did seem reluctant, and maybe that's because you probably hit too close to home potentially. But it would be something and actually be memorable in that sense, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a game developer, but how much work would it be to slap the drone skin on the swarm drones and then bring out the Locust sniper, put them on the sniper, grenadier, the hunter skins, but just use the same AI and what have you, and just have just drones to fight? That would be better than just 14 days of boost or what have you. It'd be something.
It would be better. I don't know if it would be happy with it, would we?
I think the Coalition has taught me to compromise.
As a 14-year anniversary of Gears 1, I think that would be reasonable. Like, I don't think I would be disappointed.
I think especially considering that we had this leadership change, and they seem a lot more open to giving what the community they want. I'm not sure what the lead time would be for that, unless they started as soon as the leadership change came into place.
So, what do you guys expect to see for the future of Gears 5 beyond these next couple of operations? How long do you think we're going to keep getting operations for?
I'll go for Jess?
You leaned in, Jess.
8 years.
What?
8 more years of operations.
You broke up.
8.
8 years. 8 years of operations. You guys heard it here first. 2028. Here we go.
Dane is just like, what?
Gears 6
How many
is already
maps
out.
Are we going to have by that time?
Gears 6 is out, and you know what? We committed to fixing the game. We're going to do everything in our power. We're gonna sort it out for you lads.
I think in all seriousness, we have to factor in the fact that the new Xbox console is coming out, and that is probably going to change some plans. I would expect at least another solid year of what we're getting. If we got less than 2, I'd be surprised. Once we get up to 3, I'd be extremely surprised in the other way.
I somewhat think that, someone just said 10 operations. That's what I was about to say, is not 10 more operations, but 10 operations total. That would
Which
put
would
us
3-ish years.
I think so. It'd be like 2.5-3 years of content, and then
It is.
Yeah, I'd say 2.5 years. So I think by the end of like the first year and a half, maybe slowing down on number of maps, and maybe it's just years coming out or something after that. And then we'll probably have a year of silence after the operations stop coming out before eventual Gear 6. Or, I guess that's a good question, is do you think Gear 6 will be the next Gears game?
No.
Ooh,
what do you
that's a
think?
strong early answer, yeah.
I think
Gears of War 6.
they will end up. I think they'll end up pushing Gear 6 like a Halo Infinite sort of deal, and bring. I would love this to happen. Gears 2 Ultimate Edition to sort of tie us over, because I don't mind waiting for it as long as it comes out complete. They make a good game and we don't repeat these mistakes. But I think getting someone who's not the Coalition, like Certain Affinity or someone like that, like a sort of different studio, to bring out a remaster for like Gears 2, I think that would be appropriate, or a spin-off, maybe something like that.
I would prefer to see a spin-off, personally. I do really like the classic Gears games. I don't think we would get an Ultimate Edition for Gears 2. If anything, I feel like we would get the Phoenix Collection. But I don't know how likely that is. I personally would love to just see a spin-off game.
I wonder if we're ignoring kind of the elephant in the room here, that Tactics exists, and how long would it take to make Tactics 2 if that was ever going to happen?
Yeah, from just touching on this, I think Tactics could spawn its own series, because I really enjoyed the game, and yeah, I could see that becoming a thing.
Yeah, I'm not into that type of game. I actually haven't played Tactics. I haven't even watched. I need to watch the cutscenes and stuff so I understand the story. But I have not touched Tactics or looked at Tactics really, basically. But yeah, people seem to really like it. So, do you think we would see a Tactics 2 before Gears 6?
So he said, one of the issues we had with Gears 5 was the lack of polish, and it's a very good way of putting it. But when we look at Tactics, I'm not saying it's a perfect game, but the polish was there, and that's why it felt so good. And
it's also a much simpler game, though.
Of course it is. But I played it, and it still felt kind of Gearsy, and it is my kind of game. The Venn diagram of Gears player and XCOM player, and there's how many people are in this with me? It still felt kind of interesting to play and enjoyable to play. How kind of marketable and how many people bought it, I guess it ends up with, I don't know. But surely, if it does well enough, they'll make another one.
Yeah. I was that surprised by it that I wanted to play it for the story. I even read the lines before it. Was it before it came out? I read the book with Gabe in it.
Same.
Around the time it came out, and I was quite invested in the story. But I stayed for the gameplay because it was that satisfying. I have a few nitpicks about it, but in terms of missions. But I would definitely play a sequel to that. I would probably play a day one, to be honest.
Yeah.
So Ray, do you reckon we'd get Tactics 2 before we get Gears 6? If both are definitely coming.
If both are definitely coming, yeah, I think that'd be more likely. I think Gears 6 is going to be further out than we imagined. I'm okay with that.
So if we were to get a spin-off type game, what do you think we would see? I mean, so Tactics is kind of a spin-off, but what else do you think we might see?
Can we get a true open world?
That would be cool. I'd play that.
You want a so when you say an open world, do you mean not with magic, obviously, but Skyrim style open world, or a World of Warcraft style, like an MMO?
I like that. I guess I don't know. I don't play a whole lot of. Stop it, chaps. I like Borderlands. If it was something like that, where I could these large areas with everything, that I could do what I want and kill who I wanted, I would like that.
So the game that I've proposed many times now is, have you guys played The Division?
Yes.
I have played it, yeah.
So imagine The Division, but you're playing as stranded character. And you're going around, there's the COG as the police type thing. You're going around Sarah, and there's maybe PvP environment areas. There's places where you fight against the Locust or Storm, where there's places where you fight against other stranded, and you can find armor and upgrade yourself. You get new weapons. I think a cooperative game like that, it's semi.
Mhm.
That thing would. I think
You know
playing as a
what?
stranded would be great because then you can customize your own character.
Yeah,
That brings up something that has always been said. Like, you know how it's not a Gears game unless you're fighting monsters, like people versus people. No one wants that. But I think a lot of people are at a point where like we want to be fully immersive in this universe, and I think, you know, the whole like battling other stranded, or I know a lot of people want
Pendulum Wars.
Pendulum War stuff. Like, I think that's okay. I think there's lore to be expanded on.
I wrote some stuff down in regards to this question, and like a Pendulum Wars prequel would be up there for me because if you read the books, it's quite heavily invested in that, and I think it would work, especially when you saw it in action in the prologue of Gears 4. I thought that section was one of my favorite bits in the game. I don't know what that says about Gears 4's campaign, but there you go. But the Gears universe is so rich, and there's so many characters. It's like an ensemble cast that you don't have to focus on Marcus or Kate. You've got loads of good characters there to build off. So, like, a cool thing I'd like to see is like a Ram Shadow deal, but with Scourge. I think that would be some good gameplay dynamics to play as Scourge. Like, maybe focus on, I don't know, someone like Clayton as well. His backstory, like when he finds out about the deaths. Spoilers, by the way, of Anthony and Ben. Like, there's so much there, and I don't think you should confine that sort of stuff to expanded media.
Actually, when you mentioned Ram Shadow, that's another thing. With the whole like Rise of Ram comic and Ram Shadow, like I would love to experience this war from their side. Because you know that comic, it like added so much to them. It added dialogue, it added structure, it added names, it added like ranks. Like I would love to experience that.
Yeah.
I think when we played Gears 1, you know, the locusts are kind of just like shouty monsters.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we got the, you know, Rise of Ram, it actually developed is almost like underselling it. It completely changes the way you see them in a way. You asked, you know, with a spin-off, and you know, I would probably give up my hopes of another spin-off in addition to Tactics to get like a fantastically crafted kind of like story DLC, but maybe something as crazy as, you know, another Rise of Ram, like Scourge or something. Yeah, sure, but you know, almost like, you know, the first kind of like, you know, Swarm waking up, or that kind of thing. Like, there's a lot of, and I know that they've said negative space, but it's a good thing in that sense, isn't it? Like, there's loads they could do,
I mean,
it's all.
The Nexus was one of the coolest places I thought we ever went in a campaign.
Until New Hope.
Until New Hope.
A New Hope. Oh my god. I just love that so much. I did have one more idea, and this is a controversial one. What about a survival horror FPS where you play as a like recruit gear that's been left behind?
Yes.
Just sort of limited ammo, like, you know, you have to fight the locust in sort of small groups. Maybe like after the hammer strikes or something like that. That's why there's not a lot of cog or locust around. I don't know. I think it could really lean into that Gears 1 and 2 horror, like a New Hope, and, you know, when you go to the emulsion refinery in the first game. I think that would be Gears of War atmosphere at its best for
Give me horror, man.
I think that's kind of what all sucked us in originally back in, you know, Gears 1 and 2. I think FPS is the issue with that. The idea is fantastic, and I, you know, would love it. But if you move too much away from what Gears feels like to play, it doesn't feel like you'd be actually playing the Gears game again.
But on the other hand, I know a lot of people don't like. My old roommate will not play Gears because he does not like the feel of third-person shooters. So you do open up to that new audience. And for a horror type game, I think that first person is probably the for a horror style game.
Yeah, I think the controversial bit for me there was the FPS thing. I know, like, people are like, "Oh, Gears has always been a third-person shooter," but I feel like the source material and the universe could sort of lend itself to loads of different gameplay types, like we've seen with Tactics.
I think
exactly, and not just that, but like thinking of the franchise in a bigger picture, we need to expand that audience. And trying to move the game into I've heard people say it's dated. You know what I mean? There are all these ways trying to, like, adding classes to characters, like to make it like Overwatch or Fortnite or whatever. And like, if we could expand different areas to try, I feel like it would keep it fresh, like keep it moving forward without, I don't know,
Jess, would this
for
still
new
be in
audiences.
addition? Would this still be in addition to actually getting, say, Gear 6? You'd like to see this tried, and then if it worked, like incorporated, or would you kind of keep Gear 6 as
No, this would just be like for a spin-off game or another
Yeah.
game. I still would like Gears to be, Gears, the main franchise to be at its core. I don't understand why people keep saying it's dated. I don't know.
I'll back Jess up there and say, like, I've never played a third-person shooter with as sort of refined mechanics as Gears. Like, I know we've had issues with tuning, and there's a lot of sort of exploits that are part of the game, but I've never played a third-person shooter that is just so like nuanced and perfected as Gears. That's probably me being a fanboy coming out, but I don't think it's dated. I think the game improves in terms of smoothness each iteration. Especially if you go out and play, Gears 1, 2, and 3 again, you notice a difference, but it doesn't need to change that much. It just needs to be sort of built upon and that sort of thing.
So the spin-offs you're kind of seeing as like hooks to pull people into the main.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, like the
I was
spin-offs.
watching people playing Tactics on Twitch that just, I guess, got it for free or for promotion or whatever, and they said, "I've never played the series. Maybe I should, take a look at that." Go for it.
Yeah, I think it's just as important to give Gears fans a new experience and they can try something new, explore different parts of the world if they're interested in that. It's just as important as, hey, we're in this new genre now, or this new style of game that's going to bring in outside fans and give them their taste of Gears.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Alright, so at this point, I think we're kind of wrapping up what the main topic of this stream was, and I want to transition into what I'm calling the guest topics. It's the things that, when we scheduled this stream, you guys proposed that you wanted to talk about. There's two main ones I wanted to hit on, and I guess I'm going to switch the order up a bit here in order to stick sort of with this content release for Gears 5. ShinyRay, you mentioned, I called it content cadence, and the frequency of what they're frequency of when they're releasing stuff and what they're releasing. So, do you want to go ahead and kick us off with that?
Yeah, so I think with the operation system, it's been pulled from, a lot of popular games at the moment, this sort of season-based content drops, where before it was just one content drop, and then Operation 3 came, and we had the Carmines mid-season. But after that these sort of major initial drop at the start, and then the sort of smaller drop halfway through, there's not a lot added to the game. I know there's character skins every week and we get a weekly playlist, but I think Gears 4 was a bit better in that regard, is that there wasn't this sort of rigid structure where content had to be saved for operations or mid-drops, just to bring players back. It seemed like when something was done, it was in like the next slot for a map or something like that. And I sort of wouldn't mind them doing away with these sort of named operations just to have a sort of constant sort of stream of content. But all I can see happening if that is the case is that your initial drops are just going to be divvied up across the 3, 4, 5 month period, whatever operations are going to be now.
Yeah, and so maps would stay at a release schedule of like 3 or 4 months probably. And I could see them taking the characters and putting out, instead of putting out all the characters at the beginning of the operation, putting out per month. I don't know how much that would be compared to. That's one thing. And then, so really what you're talking about is keeping the audience engaged for the duration of operation, right?
Yeah, essentially it's not just about like when characters and maps come out. It's more so like, oh look, it's one shot, one kill again. If you like one shot, one kill, I'm not dissing you. And it's like, oh, Kanasha, King of the Hill Kanashas only is back for the 5th time. You're like, yeah, where's Boom Snipes? When are you going to do like, I was really happy to see Arms Race back, and it was back for a week, and I was like, okay, bye then, mate. Cheers.
There are so many cool special events that they can do. In particular, I think of Gridiron and I think of Guardian, and the fact that in those modes you have somebody who stands out. You have the person carrying the flag, change their movement speed, their health, change which weapons they're holding. In Guardian, make the leader super slow, have really slow health regen, but have an insanely high health bar. Like, there's different things you can do to the various modes that we have and make some really cool special events. But so far, we've just been repeating events that we've had for years now, and like, I don't go play them because I'm tired of the modes.
It's like you mentioned with the Imagine Gridiron, with just everyone's charging around, and it's like a game of American football. Like, that would be a really cool addition. But you look at the other game modes that have been added, like free for all. Imagine having sort of like a Juggernaut type mode, like from Halo, where there's one person with loads of health and like a boom shot or something, and if you kill them, you become the Juggernaut, and it's whoever's gets the most kills of the Juggernaut or most time. Like, the base is there. It just needs a little bit more of creative thinking rather than leaning on these sort of stable game modes.
Oh my god, do you guys remember Infection from Halo? And I guess Call of Duty has it as well.
That would be cool with Breaker Maces.
No, imagine a cog running around the map, and the infected people are like... You can control juvies already.
Yeah, that was another thing I was thinking about. Like, because Jack can control a lot of the swarm, you could find a way to get that into versus and make it a game mode. Like, I don't know, you could have like Scions versus Cog or something like that, where they're really slow but they've got loads of health and what have you. Like an elimination mode. Like, there's a lot of potential there, and I feel like I'm just disappointed that we're sort of leaning on these sort of 10, 14-year-old game modes.
I get that stuff is hard to do, and it's like, they can't just flick a switch and make it happen. But we're a year into release so far, and everything has been recycled, and it seems like they are working on the right things where they're of the bug issues with the game. But it's really unfortunate that has made it so that they haven't been able to spend the time to add this cool, like, new stuff to make these cool experiences. They've spent so much time fixing.
Maybe that's their goal.
Spend so much time fixing that they can't add new stuff.
Actually get the game fixed, hopefully, and then by Op5, maybe.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate that it's, a year down the line and they're still fixing.
I get it. I am very salty.
I think like if we'd launched Gears 5 as it felt like at the end of Gears 4, it would have been great. But I feel like they don't kind of carry over the lessons. Like, almost have used like 5 old builds to start the new game off. Like, you kind of had it at the end. And then we've launched a new game. We kind of got like the similar problems again.
Yeah.
And to build off of that, like, put my tinfoil hat on now, like, it's not cost effective to take all the Gears 4 stuff, plonk it in a new game, like a new sort of gameplay system. I know it's the same engine, and make new stuff. It's much easier to not put that in your new game and touch it up with a few little nuances. Or like voice lines is a good example for Gears 5, but it's a lot cheaper to do that and keep drip feeding old content than make new stuff. I understand from a business perspective why it's done, but for example, I remember absolutely losing my shit with Octus on Twitter about the Gears 2 curb stomp and classic Marcus. I'm like, we know they're in the game. Like, we're going to release them like months ago, and it just really rubs me the wrong way how we know there's stuff behind the background, but this sort of policy of let's just play dumb and we don't know about it is so radically stuck to. Does that make sense?
It feels frustrating. Like, it's a game, we're supposed to have fun playing it and we want to play it, but when you kind of bump into these reminders, it doesn't feel good.
Yeah, it's a case of I scratch your back, I give you money, you line your pockets, and you give me a good experience. It's a contract at the end of the day. As reductionist as that sounds, like, I give you money to play a game, you don't say, oh yeah, cheers, easy, thanks for your money, I'm just going to ignore that. And I think a lot of people forget that about games, that you're a customer and you that purchase is almost like a contract, especially for games as a service.
Yeah. So, kind of back to the whole cadence and like keeping people entertained throughout the operation. What other things do you think they could do to keep people's attention for the duration of the operation, if they're sticking with this operation?
Can I ask a question before we answer this? So, what are we saying the operation length is now? Because originally it was 3 months, and then almost every operation was longer, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So let's say it's 4 months.
It's 12 plus weeks.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the thing. So like 3 months, 6 weeks, 6 weeks, it makes sense. But suddenly if you get to 2 months, it's 8 weeks, 5 weeks. That kind of like it's a long time. So yeah, let's say it's 4 months.
This one, I will put my and put my chips on the table and say I think it's going to be about 5 months. This one, there's been a delay to each operation. Understandable things happen, but just keep in mind that counter could change at any time, and then you won't be disappointed. Essentially,
If I may, Ray, and I'm going to call you on this. I think this operation has been tied to Series X release.
Yeah.
That it's not going to be 5 months. It's going to be a week or so around that launch, whenever that's going to be, November.
that's true. So
I think this
5
will
weeks
end on
would push
time.
us to December, wouldn't it?
5 months.
5 months. Sorry.
Yeah.
And we know Series X is out in November. For how much we don't know, but it's coming out in November.
Let's say mid-November, which is kind of around when this was going to end.
Mm-hmm.
It would be, operation starts, maybe the kind of Hypebuster DLC, new console, upgraded graphics patch, that kind of thing. It all kind of suddenly makes sense when you look at it that way.
Yeah, I think this one will end on time.
Yes, agreed.
That's fair. I can't really argue against that because I'm just pessimist as always. I'm just saying.
No, I usually am as
me,
well. Like I'm usually that way, but with this one in particular, I think it might actually be on time.
Yeah, especially because it's longer.
I think Microsoft would probably hold into it. Operations have launched with bugs before. We can deal with a few more. I know we're accepting it now, but I think now that they haven't got that exclusive, like it'll be really good for marketing to say, "Yep, boom, here's your expanded graphics. Here's your Operation 5. Here's a campaign DLC." If that is the case,
especially in the absence of Halo now.
6 for Xbox.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absence of Halo.
Yeah, I mean, it could be this kind of season's big franchise thing. I mean, I know Sea of Thieves, we touched on this before. They've just had one, so we can't expect that to have another one in 2 months' time. Maybe we could.
I mean, but Sea of Thieves updates are monthly, so this next one's coming out next week, I think they said. So around mid-November, I'm sure they'll drop another one, which will probably be quite significant. They're planning this sort of stuff ahead. So Gears is probably the same, so I can see Sea of Thieves doing that as well as a big sort of marketing tactic.
I think if we look at it as strings to a bow, Microsoft Series X, now especially they're going to want something. So, sorry, chaps. The original question is what can we do to make the kind of the cadence feel a little less arduous? But outside of events and free boost weekends, what is there?
I think
I can think of one thing, but go ahead, Ray.
I think King Abs on Twitter. I saw his thing about I think it was a locust sniper doing 100 headshots or what have you for a medal. There's been no seasonal medals for Operation 4 so far, and we're 9 weeks in, and they really dropped off hard in Operation 3. And I know people don't like the limited content, but I think it's nice to have these little tidbits, and if people don't earn them, they just go into the store at the end of Operation 4 or what have you. These sort of earnable things outside the store would be a good way to keep people engaged.
And that was the one thing I was going to say was challenges that drop mid-operation. Weekly or bi-weekly, a challenge that drops, it's, hey, complete this task, get this reward. And I would say those tasks can stay open for the duration of the operation. It's basically a new medal that launches every other week. Complete this medal or this Golem totem. Complete this totem and you get this item. If you don't complete it by the end of the operation, alright, sorry, sucks for you, but it's going to be in the store in a few months anyways.
I think actually one of my big criticisms was I didn't hate the fact that the medals had unique character skins in Operation 1, but they were so kind of asking a lot of the players. If they had that now, and then it's okay, you can get, Hivebuster cape from doing a medal in the tour. That way you can have it for the full 3 or 4 months, but it will be in the store next season. That feels better to me now. So you can still have the kind of exclusivity that, pride of place is whatever the TC call it. But they've gone so far. Now I couldn't really care much about. I've got my stars, so what do I need my medals for?
And I think that's something that. So I collect those questions on Reddit before all the dev streams, And that was one of the things that a few people proposed for that stream with Andy, and I don't think Andy really understood that question. It was, give us those chase characters in the metal things. That's just sort of, earn it, you get that timed exclusivity for it, and then next operation, you can purchase it in the store if you missed out. And yeah, I think having something besides coins in there that you can actually work towards and show off your reward go a long way.
Especially, I suppose, if you've got like, you segment it like, PvP, there's something there. But let's say like escape, and you've got like people, and it's a huge thing. It's very popular. I get that, and it's not what everybody wants. But if you had like the Hive Buster but cog armor characters as escape or escape challenges, I want to mention the T word again. But you knew that they were going to be available with coins at some point. I think that would feel good. And actually, I would want to spend my time kind of hammering out those challenges on my own time, playing with my friends when I can and doing that. If you could do that across the breadth of modes with unique stuff, you'd actually get that kind of like, oh, here's Chaps, he's amazing at PvP, he's there, got that character. But here's Ray, he's amazing at escape, he's got that character. But everyone can still get it at some point. It would feel better for me, I think.
Yeah, I think that in combination with the challenges that never expire and never are purchasable in the store, so something very difficult for PvP that can award you something to show off and show, hey, I was able to do. Back to the Vidmaster thing that I was talking about.
Which is a good...
Yeah, complete some super hard challenge and you get some reward that you get to show off.
And that would work so well with Horde as well. Like, sorry, Ray. You could do like, do it all as, Ben Carmine or something as, soldier class or whatever. And then you can get this thing, like you hamstring yourself to get something. You don't have to do it. You will get it eventually, but it's hard and you can get it. It'd be great. Sorry, Ray, I interrupted.
No, just to expand on this sort of keeping the community engaged with these hard challenges, something I would have liked to see, and I put in my last video, like community challenges where the community has to work towards a common goal and gets rewarded with a really sick skin at the end. Like, you get 500,000 kills as a community, and once you do it, you get like Old Man Min or something like that. And if the community doesn't complete it, it's just rolled over until they do, or shoved into the store. Like, I think it was Call of Duty like does this quite a lot, and I think Pokemon did it recently with like captures or like raid battles or something like that. And people met those quite high challenges because
yeah, I mean it's
everyone
a good idea.
Everyone wants this cool skin, so everyone pitches in together, and I think it would be a really good way to keep people playing throughout the whole operation.
Yeah.
I think, again, I always can kind of compare the class-based, and let's say we're going to do kits for Horde now. A game that I think was kind of like ahead of its time was Mass Effect 3, and it had that kind of half an hour, like, PvE mode where you could get characters, earn credits and stuff like that. But each character was a unique kit. And I know, obviously, it wasn't the same kind of game, of course. But if they kind of did that with Gears 5, and they had unique characters and kits, and that's something I'm going to come on to later, of course, but also working like kill so many Scions in Horde as a community, you pass it and you get something cool. But if you fail it, sod's law, for the next week or so, in every Horde match, there's twice as many Scions as like a negative model.
Poison.
Like you do your job, great, and then actually you don't do it, and then there's still kind of like a negative thing, and it feels like the game's playing with you as well.
Mm.
Yeah, it gets people more invested in it.
Yeah,
that'd be interesting. Let's see. I kind of wanted to move on to what I think is going to be a very interesting topic, and that's one of the ones Rosie mentioned, which you just put. I think it was EU matchmaking.
Yeah.
And so I want to start this off by saying that there was a Twitter thread going around earlier today, sort of about this and the fact that people in various regions are not able to find matches and they can't play. And asking for a region select and stuff like that. And Dana said that they have a meeting on Tuesday to discuss matchmaking and what they can do about it. And he specifically asked if you can rank these three things in priority order. And it was ping. So what is your ping and what are the other players' ping? The skill matchmaking, how well your skill compared to the other people in the lobby, and time that it takes to find a match. And it's what do you rank the importance of those? And I kind of wanted to go around the room, and we'll start with Rosie and then go to Ray and see what would you guys rank? Ping, skill, and time.
I'm glad you asked me this because actually, I want to be playing the game. Like, yeah, I don't want a bad match. I don't want an unfair match. But the number one thing is I don't want to be sat searching for a match. So for me, it would be time to find a game. And then it would probably have to be ping, probably. Maybe. I'd actually switch it between. As long as I can find a game quickly, that'd be my number one. And then I kind of like less than. But what's my bottom one? I think skill might be my bottom. Like, I want to be in games. If they're hard, if they're easy, I'd rather be playing than waiting for a perfect game. I'm glad that you kind of asked me this like now, because if this contrasts massively with Ray, it'd be good to have a little conversation about what matters most to us.
Yeah.
Wait, so go over that again, just quickly.
So, what is your ping, and what is the ping of the other players in the lobby? What is
what was Rosie's ranking? Sorry.
Actually, I think it'd be interesting. I think it'd be interesting if you said yours without knowing his now.
Okay, so sorry, it's ping, time to find a match, and skill.
Yeah.
So for me, the thing I want the most is lower ping, believe it or not. I don't mind waiting for a match, especially if it's ranked, because I've been a big sort of supporter of this, but a lot of the complaints with the tuning are definitely an issue. But for me, the thing that always lets me down with Gears, no matter what the tuning is the net code. And if you play with someone that's like 50 ping discrepancy, like you can get some really, really like bad moments where you think someone's not even pointing at you or what have you, or you get downed around a corner, or you get a headshot when you're around a corner by a sniper. For me, low ping would be an absolute must. And then time to find a match would be next. I obviously want to get in a game quickly. Skill would be last, purely based on the fact that everyone got reset to bronze, and you can't really tell whose people's skill are. I've been a diamond in every single operation. In fact, I got masters in Op4, I think it was. So masters, bronzes, I really don't care who I play against. I'd just rather play a ranked match, you know?
Okay. And we'll go back and we'll cycle through all of these again and talk about them in more detail. But Jess, I want to get yours, and then I'll give my preference as well.
It would be ping time skill.
Ping time skill?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with you. For me, it would be ping time skill. And I think a big thing there, the reason that we... Actually, I don't know, I would almost put time at the bottom for mine. And
I wouldn't.
The only reason for that for me is living in like the US on either central or eastern servers, I don't have any issue with time right now. I completely understand why people would put time up higher, but from my personal experience, I don't have issues, so I would put it. But
it's all right. It's all right for some to find matches easily, hey.
Yeah.
Actually, it's a good question to ask, especially when you've got like kind of two Brits and 2 Americans actually. But Jess, it wasn't as high a priority for you.
Yeah, it is based on experience. I mean, like, I have no idea what you guys go through.
Yeah, it's hard for us to talk about that.
I had a 70 ping match the other day, and I was complaining to an Australian, although it was a joke, and I got yelled at.
I think that's and it's a matter of opinion, isn't it? And like, if you can log on at any time of the day and find a game, you don't care about time because it's not a problem.
Right.
But
exactly.
if I log on at like kind of like between 6 and say 11 p.m., which is kind of like when I would play, I might not find a Gridiron game. And like, as a person who doesn't necessarily play King of the Hill as much as other people, when I play Gridiron, I can't find a game, and I have to kind of go to 2v2s to kind of get a reliable and keep the games coming. It means time. Sorry.
Are you on PC or console?
No, I play on Xbox. So sorry, when I say like that's the window that I would play in, but I would usually play, towards the end of that window, which is, 11 o'clock is almost like peak time for you guys, like 5 hours behind. That's hopefully, but because of the, I can't. We spoke about this before we kind of went on the chat. But if I could join your party, chaps, and then play as you, the party leader, then I could access the American kind of player base and play that way with a higher ping. I'd happily do that, but I can't. I don't have that option on my own.
Yeah, and so that's one of the things people really ask for is that region select. It's like if you could select, hey, I want to go on US East servers and play that, you'd probably find a match. And the thing that I don't understand is they have a ping limit in there right now. I was under the assumption that it was matchmaking you in the entire world as long as you were in that ping limit. So if you were able to reach US servers and stay below that ping limit, it would match you there. But that's what I've thought for quite a while now, ever since they switched to this quality of service thing, got rid of region select. But I've been seeing a bunch of people say that if you and I partied up and we searched, that you would be able to find a match in the US. So clearly it's not what I was thinking, where you are searching everywhere as long as you're below the ping limit. I don't understand why that's not the case.
So, because I don't know the answer, of course, I don't work for TC, but I have a friend who lives in Canada, and when he plays, I join his party, and literally it'll get to a certain point in the evening, and matchmaking starts to drag out, and we'll just switch, and he'll be the host, and it will be, it could be like positive confirmation, but it feels like we can then find a game far more quickly.
I don't understand why that's the case. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Ray, let's say you play social most of the time, but when you do play ranked, what do you play and when do you play it?
I just play Cough at the moment because it's the only thing I can really find a match quickly. And I've been playing on PC a lot recently. I tried to find a match for Free4 on Gridiron. I've tried it since the start of the operation, never found one. Jumped onto console straight away. Found a match. It still says up to 5 minutes or less than 5 minutes, but I was finding like a free-for-all match like every minute and a half.
So you're not having an issue. You guys are same general region, right? But
yeah.
But and you're not having an issue finding the matches?
I would say, yeah. If I play Koth, I can find a match pretty much straight away from anywhere between like 12 o'clock in the afternoon till like sort of, I'd say like 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Well, you said
that would be
on
like
console. On console, you said you could find anything.
On console, I can find anything pretty much right up until, I think the other night I was playing up until like 8 o'clock in the evening.
Rosie, you play on console and you say you can't find stuff.
So yeah, so this is I'll kind of like caveat my answer with this, like I don't play Koth, but when I do, I don't struggle to find a game at all. It's when I get to say Gridiron and it gets to kind of like 8, 9, 10, that kind of time of an evening, which is that's why I asked what you play and when you play it, Ray, because it looks almost as like when we dovetail and like I start to pick up almost, because like when I used to play, we played with my friends in Canada and America, in Gears 1, the time that I play was always like 6 their time, 11 our time, that 5-hour difference. And without them now, I feel that I can't do it. But you're playing during the day, which is not something that I do.
Yeah, that is really strange because even with like free for all, I could get it before. I don't know what I'd consider peak time, like 5 onwards in the UK. I could find still free for all matches on console during like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, let's say. And Koth is pretty much round the clock. I can find a match within like 2 minutes.
Yeah, so I absolutely agree. Koth, yeah, if we could kind of take that out, I can find games. It's got a huge play base. We all know this, and we never struggle. But I kind of like the problem that I'm finding is, it's Gridiron, which is a mode that I love. I can play it during the day, but then when it gets towards the night, when I feel like EU has gone to bed, essentially, I then can't access what I think is the America player base.
I've tried Gridiron on console and PC, and I've never played a ranked match of Gridiron on both, actually, come to think of it.
I think maybe it's a mode thing. Like, we know Execution wasn't super popular, and Gridiron, I feel, is a great spiritual successor to it. I know it's kind of like, splits kind of a lot of people's opinion. But if I want to play that and not King of the Hill, I end up going to 2v2s, which I can find all hours of the night.
So I'm seeing in the chat the discussion about the fact that you can, what you were saying earlier, you can go on, have your friend host in America or Canada, and you can find a match, right? And I'd really like the Coalition to explain why that's the case. Clearly, if I can search for you, if you're in my party and I search, and your ping is still reasonable enough to let you into the match, why does that not happen to you? Search by yourself.
I guess the first question is like, is it a thing, or am I just am I crazy? But it's something we could test, isn't it? When we finish the stream now, I could jump on your, you could get in my party, we could search for a Gridiron and wait for 10 minutes, and then immediately switch it over and find out.
Yeah, but like I've seen a lot of people post about this on Reddit and Twitter and say the same exact thing, that they can hop in their friend's thing and find a match. So it's like, with the number of people that I've seen posting about this, I would tend to believe it, and I just don't
I-
understand why that would be the way that it is.
I've
I
seen
mean-
a fair amount of people in stacks with large ping discrepancies. Like you can
Yeah.
tell, like maybe the host is on an EU server and he's on like 40, 50 ping, and then you've got two other people in the same stack on like 150, 200. So there's obviously a way to bypass it in a party. But
Well, I don't know what the ping limit is. Ping limit might be 200, so you could still be in there.
I
Question.
don't doubt that's not the case.
Because he's talking about the ping limit, but let's say, chaps, we joined your room now, me, Ray, Jess, and your ping limit to the US East or whatever is 20, and I join in there, and I know I would be high 80s, maybe 100, let's say roughly.
Yeah.
But let's hypothetically say that Ray's coming in at 250, which is over the limit. Does that mean do you think that you then couldn't find a game because he was hamstringing the whole party, or do you think it would force him in?
So I'm starting to wonder if it would force him in just based on the discussions that I've seen from people. I was always under the assumption that if someone in your party doesn't meet the ping limit, then your party won't find a match.
Hey, chaps, you've been in games with me where someone's got a ping of like 1500, right?
Yeah, but we play quick match.
What is that? Yeah, no, but like, what is? Oh,
Well, so two things. One, we play quick match, and two, they want you to have a stable ping when you join. And then, so Dana's talked about this before. If someone's playing and they have a reasonable ping, and then all of a sudden their friend hops on Netflix and their ping spikes way up, they're already in the match. Like,
Can't do anything about it. Also, don't try and exclude the players playing from the moon, Jess.
those mooners.
but yeah, and it's weird. Like, so we were playing a 2v2 match, Jess and I earlier, because I had a daily objective for 2v2 match, and the pings in the lobby were around 50 to 60, but we still had these ridiculous lag spikes where we just teleport across the map. It's so bizarre.
I've had some weird instances where, like, when the server doesn't feel quite right and you're not getting the lag symbol on the bottom, and you're like, something's off about this, even though everyone's ping looks the same. It's the same on the scoreboard. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe that's just me imagining it or something, but I could probably count on like two hands the times that's happened to me, or felt like it's happened to me.
If I could ask another question, and perhaps maybe you could look at the chat in the room. How reliable do we think the ping indicator is? And I'll ask the question, but the reason I ask it is, like, I've played games and someone's been at a rock solid 1, and it's not possible. Like, it's not possible to be that low.
Yeah, do you remember was it Operation 3 or 2? I can't remember which it started, and I loaded up a game in like a 3 stack, and it was like, what? I'm single digit ping. I've never had that. And it was said in like a dev stream that everyone's more closely connected, and
yeah, I don't know how much we can trust that ping calculation.
I did see, and this could be crazy, so correct me if I'm wrong, but obviously we know they've been betaing the xCloud thing, and I saw that someone put on the Reddit that if you play Gears on from your phone on xCloud, it kind of connects to your Xbox, and that's what the ping indicator would show.
Yeah.
Which would then make one ping, but I live in a building at the top of the building, and mine is kind of slightly higher than my brother who lives in his own kind of house, and his is always comfortably 10 below me. But even then, he will still get the same kind of struggles matchmaking after a certain time. So I know there's a ping restriction. I don't doubt that. I don't think that's why we're not finding games, or rather, the people in chat and I are not finding games at a certain time.
You think it's something to do with it restricting which servers you're actually searching on?
Almost like a soft region lock.
Yeah, which I don't think should exist. So it sounds like Dana is collecting a bunch of feedback. They have a meeting on Tuesday to discuss matchmaking, and this will inevitably be one of the big topics that comes up. Sounds like on Thursday, the dev stream, they'll be talking about matchmaking. So I'm really curious to see what they say about it.
Absolutely, I am. It's one thing I'm really interested in. But just kind of like a hypothetical question. Let's say there's a game like 5v5, and it's trying to find 3 players to round it out, and it's got the 4 of us, and it's a US game. would I not be excluded because it's going to grab you, Jess, and an American first? So maybe it's not that I'm not allowed to play with them, but it can find better games more quickly with US players, and I'm actually kind of being excluded that way.
That honestly could be the.
It's like there's no like kind of sympathy timer. Like let him have a game.
Yeah, like so. I think of the ping limit as all right. If you're below this threshold, then you can join the match. But I guess it's really probably a bar that's slowly growing up, and it's you're not meeting the requirements, but Jess and I am, so we take those slots. But if it started up like way up here, then maybe you would be eligible to join, and you would miss out. I think right now it's trying to find the best match possible for people match.
So, and I kind of like, I know I'm going on about this and I feel like I'm, playing a small violin, but like I'm not in Australia or New Zealand and they can't get games. Yeah. Like, as much as I can play, I can still play during the day and Ray can still play, but, they just completely go, oh, it's the kind of problem that you've got. But it was never a kind of problem in the older games where we could, like, in Gears 1, just pick a server to join.
Ooh, that's reminded me, actually. A guy commented on one of my videos from South Africa that apparently the Gears 5 servers in South Africa recently have been shut down. Like, they've been completely taken offline. And as you can imagine, that is absolute hell to try and play. You've paid this money for a product, or you're paying for Game Pass, and, you're on 250 plus ping because that's the nearest server. Or you just can't find a game full stop because of the way the matchmaking system works. Like, I understand that companies close down servers when they don't meet demand. It's in the terms and conditions, but to horribly sort of handicap someone in that regard, I really don't agree with it. So this sort of it's a much worse case than us in the UK, but we, as bad as it is for us, it's much worse for, like you said, people in Australia, New Zealand, South Africa even. And I feel like we've just got for lack of a better term, the shit end of the stick,
Yeah.
It seems like a system that's great, like, and I'm going to say the few, like it works well for the few, but other people that kind of outside of that, it doesn't necessarily work. And I kind of would be interested to know how many US players there are versus kind of like US and LATAM, and then like US and EU and etc. Like how many players outside of the US are there? And is that why they're kind of catering there?
Yeah, they'll never publish that, like their numbers, but I would be very interested to see that as well. Like, so they're not going to publish their numbers because I just don't think that's a thing that Microsoft is going to do. But publishing percentages do, and that would be interesting if they could post, hey, 60% is in the US, the UK is like 5%, and something like that.
Yeah, and then actually, then I'd have an idea. Sorry, Ray.
You'd still keep the data discreet then. Oh no, only 10,000 people playing Gears. I just pulled that number up my ass, but like, yeah, it will be a good meet in the middle. If you don't want to publish these statistics, at least give us a percentage.
I think that would be interesting.
Perhaps it would just raise more questions.
Possibly, yeah. Who the hell is playing in Antarctica? That 0.01%.
Hey, now you're getting like Jess and the moon person.
I wonder what's more remote, the moon or Antarctica for ping.
All right. So let's see. We're coming up on the hour and a half mark, so I think we're probably going to call it here for this stream. So what I want to do is we're going to go around the room one more time. Just any final remarks you have on any of the topics that we've covered, and you can also let people know where they can find you. Of course, as always, I'm going to have all of your links down in the description once too, but you guys can go ahead and let people know. So, ShinyRay, we'll start with you.
So you can find me on Twitter at AShinyRay Quarter. Sorry, I got confused there. My YouTube channel is AShinyRay. So Nintendo doesn't like copyright strike me or something. Those are my main socials. Yeah, check out my videos. Leave a comment, see what you think. And if you find the videos a bit too complaining and moany, just give me some horrible comments in the comment section.
All right, Rosie, anything from you?
Yeah, first of all, thank you very much for having me, chaps. It has been nice.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
and a nice kind of like open conversation about it. If I ever do come back here, if I'm invited back, I definitely have other things to talk about, and I'd love to kind of interact about other things. You can find me on Xbox. My gamer tag's Old Rosie. You know, on Twitter it's @_Rosie. You know, Old Rosie. Just feel free to drop me a message, and if you know, I'm here. I don't have a YouTube channel. I'm just a kind of player that wants to kind of enjoy the game and make it as good as I can. But if I could leave one parting comment, just put a GG if you have a good game. Just do it.
Not an easy.
Not an easy.
When people write easy in social, I'm just like, oh no.
I've started the one-man campaign. Every game now, if I have a good game, I put GG. You know, even if I lose, I don't care. If it's a good game, just do it. And like, just make that change.
Yeah. Red positivity.
Is GG easy appropriate?
I'll come back to you on that.
All right, Jess, do you have any final thoughts that you want to pass on?
I'd like to do my filibuster on pouncers and no.
How about those pouncers,
strapping guys?
No, I'm just I've enjoyed this app, and I'm looking forward to what next app will bring. I know it's a ways away, but
Yeah.
I feel like it's going in a good direction. And you can find me, let's see, right here, and yeah, stuff like that.
Alrighty. Well, again, I want to thank you guys for joining, and to anyone watching this, reach out on Twitter, in the comments of this video, wherever, if any of you are interested in being on a future stream. I plan on doing a lot more like this, where someone like, so ShinyRay, you have a YouTube channel, but Old Rosie, you don't. You're just a community member who wants to talk about topics, and it was fun having an engaging discussion. And I want to get a lot more people like you on this stream who can voice their opinion and probably think of some topics that I haven't even thought about discussing before. So thanks for being on. Yeah, see you guys all later.
Thanks for having me. Take care.
Cheers.
Bye.